what's up everybody, it's Kellen here from Start Your Systems, and welcome to a new series called 3 Games, 1 Track in MX Simulator, MX Bikes, and in this case, Monster Energy Supercross 4, the official video game, is a series I want to try out. I feel like to just kind of more or less show off the capabilities of these different motocross games that we play. I'll probably end up doing this with the GP games as well, and on some level maybe some of the MX vs. ATV stuff to show off the tracks that they released for the National Championship in that game as well. But the reason I wanted to do this was obviously, you know, San Diego just happened over the weekend. All 3 games have, well, I created a custom version of San Diego in Monster Energy Supercross 4, but MX Bikes and MX Sim both race these tracks for, you know, like a custom replica series, more or less. And I don't really get to talk that much about the tracks in Sim or Bikes because I don't actually race the series or stream the series in Bikes, and then I only stream the series in Sim, so I only get to do the Supercross 4 track discussion when I actually play the track afterwards and talk about the race. But I wanted to talk more about these tracks, so we'll jump into Bikes first and talk a little bit about it. I will say just straight up that I'm not comfortable enough in Bikes and or Sim right now, I guess, to run 3 consecutive laps straight. So there's going to be 3 cut laps in Bikes, and then 3 cut laps in Sim, and then actually 3 consecutive laps in Monster Energy Supercross 4, just because it's obviously easier to run consistent laps in SX4 than it is in the Sim games. But the Bikes track and the Sim track, a couple things that you'll notice about both of them is that they're actually built off of the blueprint map. So because of that, a couple of the sections are slightly wrong, like this section I just went through right here. There actually is one less single than that they used in real life. So instead of going double, 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 table over single, guys are going double, triple table over singles, so that's one less single in that sequence. The next section after that was a table over single double through the corner, but in real life it was a double and then table over single into the 90 before the Supercross triple. So just a couple of the sections are wrong from what real life was, but it's literally only because they release this track and the Sim track before the real life race happens, so that they can race the tracks and like kind of build a hype up for the weekend. So because it's built out the blueprint, there's always going to be a couple things wrong with these tracks, like right here as well. This is a Dragon's Back in the real track, and I built it that way in Supercross 4 because I built the Supercross 4 track after the race happened in real life. Anyway, you know, that's just kind of a couple of the technical details. Here's a little different line that I chose through here just to show the different options that were available through this section. Roll in and then double on off, basically. But there's that table over single double to the outside here. I rode a 250F on this track as well, and my lap times weren't that good. Then I played the track a ton on a 450 later and did better laps, but I didn't record any of it. So I think next week I'll probably just ride a 450 in Bikes the same way I do in Sim and in Supercross 4, so that at least comparative-wise we can compare the lap times. 59.017 is my best so far. That was a 59.82 I think that I just put down. And then this one I think is actually a little bit better. I believe I go to the 58s on this lap. But overall, I like the Bikes track because I feel like compared to the Sim track, it actually ended up being a little bit closer to what real life was. Like, for example, this section right here, you can pop up onto this table off of the little 3 whoops or 4 whoops right there that they built in the Bikes game, which obviously is a Dragon's Back in real life, so that just kind of tailors to it a little bit more. I'm hot garbage in the whoops, I apologize. And then this section, in Sim it wasn't bad, but it was just a little bit tough to kind of get through the couple rollers into the section, so wasn't a super fan of it by any means, but wasn't bad. So the Bikes track, obviously built by the Aerial SX track crew. I think a lot of that work comes from Stone Rider, so great job to him and everybody that helps put that on. I'll get better with Bikes, but this is just showing off the Bikes track. And if you want to download any of these tracks, you can head down to the description below. I'll be sure to pair up a download link so you guys can try the tracks out for yourself. Let's move on from Bikes to Sim now. So here's some of my Sim laps, and Bikes is the only game that I play first person in. I could probably do Supercross 4 in first person just to, you know, have another first person, you know, display, I guess, but Sim I absolutely cannot play in first person. I never have been able to. The reason I didn't play Bikes in first person for a long time was because I tried to learn Sim in first and then would always get some vertigo or some nausea associated with it, so I ended up learning the game in third, and now I literally can't play first. Like every time I try, it's a disaster. So all my Sim laps will be third person unless I get someone else to do my laps for me, but hopefully you guys are okay with that. I honestly, I think third person aesthetically is also a little bit easier for people to watch. a lot of people that watch the channel, I feel like, are also, into the Supercross 4 MXGP games, and obviously because those are more arcade-ish, most people tend to play those in third person anyway. So yeah, sim-wise versus bikes-wise, just comparing the two tracks that we see here so far. Obviously, the Race Factor Gaming track crew making the sim track. I think they did a really good job with it as well. I was pretty kind of happy to see how it raced. A lot of people were complaining about the track coming into it and how low the berms were and everything like that, but they have to build them low that way because the road will shape in. And then, some of the rhythm lanes are usually tamed down just a little bit because otherwise the 450s will do ridiculous lines. So, some people weren't too fond on the track, but it raced really well. And then I learned it pretty quick as well. Like, this was probably my second session putting laps on it. And to get 3 laps that I could clip and use for this video, it only took me about 10 minutes. I almost did 2 of them consecutively. So for where my skill level is at in sim now, I feel like that's pretty good, because I definitely am not one right now that I would feel comfortable saying, yeah, I could just, go out and do a 20 and not have much of a problem. So pretty stoked with that. The flow of the track is pretty good. It's pretty close to what they're doing in real life. Obviously, this 5-foot single and the 3-foot single that I landed off of it were switched in real life. So, ideally you want to go double, triple, double to match what real life was doing right there. I'm going double, double, triple, as kind of doing the same thing in the bikes laps as well. It is what it is. There's always going to be little minute details that the sim and bikes track get wrong compared to what we saw from the real life racing. The flow of this track, though, I wasn't a super fan of the layout, but what I will say is that Dirtworks, I feel like this year, is doing a better job of kind of thinking outside of the box, trying to come up with unique sections and rhythm lanes and stuff that we haven't seen. So going back and forth across the start a lot right there, having a flat corner after a whoop section, a lot of things that we don't normally see from pretty much any of the tracks. So, it's kind of cool that they're branching out a little bit. Maybe a couple too many 90s on this track. There's only kind of 2, maybe 3 you would actually call a 90, but it just didn't really seem to set up very well for passing. Let's see, do I triple right here? No, double, triple again. Anyway, sim track good. Shout out Race Factor Gaming track crew for putting that one together and come over the finish line here. Did I leave too much of this lap in? I think I did. Yeah, I crashed right here, so I'm not sure why I left all this part in. Apologize, I'll cut that next week. Yeah, there we go, closing sim. So this is the Monster Energy Supercross 4 track that I built on Sunday after the race. So if you could think of like timeline of when these tracks were all built, the sim track was completed first. It was released on Wednesday before the San Diego Supercross. It was probably about a week and a half for them to build it and put it all together. Bikes track, I don't actually know a time frame of how long it takes them, but I would imagine it's probably similar in terms of total work, like a week and a half to 2 weeks. And then they released it on the Friday before the San Diego Supercross. And again, that's because in sim, they release it an hour before racing is meant to start, so then you only get an hour to qualify on the track. We race it Wednesday night. Very similar format in bikes. I think it's actually like 3 hours, though, for the NA series, but EU gets only an hour because they race it earlier in the day. So they release it Friday, everybody races it Friday, and then, move on with your day. With the Supercross 4 track that I made here, this is all just my kind of picking it from my brain, more or less, and trying to mimic what we saw on the weekend. So yeah, I think with this one, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I wish I maybe would have built that double just a bit smaller. I feel like it maybe pitches you up a little bit too high. I definitely could have condensed a little bit more of this. I feel like it's too long of straightaways back and forth across the start straight right here. I like how I built this Dragon's Back. Turned out pretty well, I thought. And then the whoops, I put 13 whoops in. It was only 12 in the end of it because they did cut a whoop down, but I did that because I needed to kind of make the whoops last the full length all the way back to the start. And then through the first corner, they were going double, triple, table over single. Out of this corner, double, table over single, hug the inside, and get the Supercross triple from the inside. Now, in this game, because it's pretty hard to do anything other than the cookie cutter jumps they give you, you can actually land that Supercross triple and then quad triple into the corner. You can also go over table, triple, single to the inside. There's a couple different options like that, but just for the sake of showing off how the track raced on the weekend, sometimes I don't hit big lines like that. And personally speaking, when I play Supercross 4, I also like to keep it a little bit more realistic. Like, I like to play it as if, I was going to do stuff that would be realistic to real life. I know some people like to do the wheelie glitch everywhere and scrub glitch and other things like that. I do kind of do the, the wheelie through the whoops thing, which sucks, but I think it doesn't really look good going through the whoops any other way personally, so I just kind of do that. But yeah, so this is 3 games, 1 track, new series. I'm kind of formalizing, trying to play around with it a little bit, see what people think. Again, as GPs come around and we start doing some more GP tracks, I think I'm gonna, branch out and do that. Bikes and sim, they release these tracks every year, so it just kind of, naturally flows together. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Be sure to head down to the description below and download the tracks, and I look forward to seeing you guys in all of our future videos. So long for now.